All right, so thank you again for joining us for our Wapo site camp meeting. Again, my name is Paula Arland, and I'm really excited that we are able to offer in-person camp this summer at Wapo. We're going to go through a lot of different things today, and if at any time you have questions, either write it down or just, we'll have some time at the end to answer those. If you're on the Zoom call and if you have a question, I believe Hannah has enabled the chat for that. All right, and I have the thumbs up from Hannah. This year is going to be a little different. I think we all are aware of that. One of the different things is church staff may or not be able to attend camp this year. We are really hoping that for the Seeds weekend that I can be there, as I always am, for the full time. For sure, I can be there on one day, which would be the big day on Friday, the full day. So from the minute you get up to the minute you go to bed, I would be at camp with you. All right. So just be aware of that. I probably won't, there are some restrictions of what we can and cannot do. Like I can't eat a meal with you guys, but you'll see my face. You'll see me around with a camera, that type of thing. It sounds like it's the same type of thing for youth camp, where fully immunized staff are allowed to come for a day or two. So that's what we're hoping for. So if you are a 4th through 6th grader, you should be able to see me once or twice during the week, and same with Michael, should be there. But I do have we have actually a lot of counselors from our church that will be there working this summer. And I have 2 over here. Could you come up here for just a quick second? Maybe like run. I know you did, but you can try it again. Faster? Yeah, my girls. All right. Yeah, just say your name really fast and take off your mask as you do it. Okay.
I'm Hannah.
Which camp will be at?
I'll be at both week-long and Seeds.
So whichever camp, this is for the people at home, whichever camp you are attending, you'll probably see her face.
I'm Emma. I'll be at Seeds.
All right. So you'll see her face at Seeds camp only. All right. Thank you, girls. As we hear from more and more of our counselors and we're able to, I'm going to get a picture of them and just a little bio so that you guys can see who some of our counselors from church are, so that you're able to, you just have a friendly face there. So I want to make sure that there is a friendly face that you can see and meet, and especially for our Seeds campers and our first-time campers too. That's so important that there's a face there that they know. Our theme for this year is Just Love, and it's based on Psalm 33, chapter 33, verse 5. The Lord loves righteousness and justice. The earth is full of his unfailing love. And the Bible stories that they have picked out are going to be just really fun Bible stories to be learning about at camp. Worship, study, play, and conversations will be focused on living out justice, which is formed and shaped by the gracious love of our God. One of the things that I want to make really clear this year, if you've had older students that have gone to camp, we no longer have to have a King of Kings med form or photo release form that you need to sign. We'll be able to take pictures and put them on our closed Shutterfly site. And then if we need to use them for something else that's outside of church, we will ask permission to use those pictures. So that is a change from past years, which is huge. But that also means if your child has a birthday while they are at camp, please let me know. I don't get that information anymore. So I want to make sure that we have a tradition of celebrating birthdays at camp. We want to make sure that we celebrate any child or student's birthday that they may have while they are at camp. All right, so that's really important that you let me know if your child has a birthday while they are at camp. Normally camp, especially for our youth campers, it's pretty, I want to say a little bit more loosey-goosey than for our Seeds campers. Seeds campers, you do everything by your cabin, all right? Now they're going to be doing everything by neighborhoods. The cabin sizes are going to be much smaller. Usually there's about 16 kids in a cabin. There will be only 8, so there'll be half of that. So Only half of that, of the number that you may be familiar with, will be in your cabin. And so they're going to do neighborhoods. So that will be based upon where your cabin is. So you'll be with other cabins in your neighborhood. And you're going to be doing all of your activities together. All right. So for both Seeds Camp and Youth Camp, it's going to be that way. So it's going to be a little bit more schedulized. I think I just made that word up, but it's going to be a little bit more scheduled if you're at Youth Camp than what you're used to. You're going to travel and participate in activities together with your neighborhood. So for instance, your neighborhood is going to eat together. Your neighborhood is going to go to worship together. Your neighborhood may do swim time together. Does that make sense? Especially to my older campers? It's the same type of thing with Seeds Camp. Is you'll still be in neighborhoods, you'll still be doing things together, but that's not necessarily a change from prior years. We've always kind of operated that way. Cohorts. So if you've been to camp before, I want you to think of that alpha beta model. We used to divide kids up. 4th and 5th grade were kind of together, and then 6th through 8th grade were together. This time they're just going to split the camp in half, and so half will be a cohort, and we'll do some of those larger group activities like worship, campfire, maybe the larger field games together as a cohort and their neighborhood groups. Does that make sense? So that's kind of how they're dividing things up. So camp may still feel and seem really big, but it's actually going to be smaller than what we've experienced in the past. Right? Most activities will be outside as much as possible. So when I say outside and activities, they're hoping to get picnic tables so that you have an assigned picnic table where you eat your meals. So you'll be eating outside. You may have worship or chapel outside instead of in Crossfire where it normally is. So just be aware that you'll be spending a lot more time outside than you have in previous years. All right. So that's important to know. Extra sunscreen, maybe a hat, maybe, especially if you're prone to sunburn. A basic schedule or an overview, and again, this is all subject to change, but this just gives you an idea of what your day might look like at camp for both Seeds campers and youth campers. You will get up early in the morning, so there's not necessarily any time to sleep in, and you'll have breakfast. You'll go to chapel. You'll have Bible study with your cabin group. You'll do activities together, probably in your neighborhood. And by activities, maybe it's doing rotations. So maybe it's arts and crafts. Maybe it's games like 9 Square or Air Square. Maybe it's, what else do you do in the morning? Wapo Shopo, going to the shop. For Seeds Camp, you do. I said a craft. So that kind of thing you'll do together. Maybe it's playing Gaga. That type of thing. So there'll be a block of time that you're doing activities as your neighborhood group or even as your cabin group only. You'll have lunch together. There may be some quiet time built into your day, and you'll appreciate that quiet time just to sit and be for a little bit. Some of the afternoon activities might include, and again, emphasize the word might, swimming. What's that? Water slide. The water slide in the back may be available. Canteen, arts and crafts, Gaga, 9 Square, Air Square. For Wapo Camp only, they do a Wapo medallion hunt, which the kids have always enjoyed looking for. We have a question about carpet ball. That's a fun game, but we're not sure if that will be available this year due to the construction that on site with the new dining hall. Frisbee golf may be available still. So those kind of things that you'll be doing as your neighborhood again. There may be all camp activities. During all camp activity, it could look like, and that may be by your cohort, so that might be half of the camp doing, split up into 2 different sections. So it might look like Mighty Mighty. It might look like Medic. It might look like, what is that game with the thing? Hulu launchers. It might look like, where's the rat-a-tat-tat? Exploding enchiladas. Yeah, I'm relying on them to help me. What else? The noodle games. She, for those of you at home, she asked, what are we talking about? So she's out there throwing out answers, but I had to ask what we're talking about. Love you, Hannah. All right. Some other things that you might do is group building, small group activities to group building, team building. Thank you. That's the better word that I was looking for. You'll have dinner. Oh, you'll also have, did I say lunch? You'll have lunch. You'll get 3 meals. You'll have dinner. Oh, and I did say canteen. There'll be another camp activity most likely. You'll have a special worship, and sometimes that's included bringing a painter, Paul, in. I don't remember Paul's last name, but he comes in and he does a really cool painting. Our confirmation students got to see that a couple of weeks ago at their retreat, and that's for a week long. Maybe it's, I'm not going to look at them anymore because they're not helping me at all. Masterpiece, where they do skits. Kind of a comedy show, like Think Carol Burnett type of thing. What's the rapper that comes in? They bring in a special Agape. No Agape. He was kind of doing it every other year. So Agape may or may not be there. If you're a really big fan of Agape, we can hope. So they do some really special worship at times. Sometimes it's just with your cabin. Sometimes it's in the larger cohort. Let's see here. There'll be a Thursday night banquet, and that is just for youth camp. And that's the time, and there's some pictures of banquet where they tend to dress up a little bit more. And we'll have more information about that as we get to that point, if they still have that or not. So just be aware of that. And they have a special meal. They're served by the counselors. It's just a really special time for their last night at camp. And they'll do campfire, cabin devotions, and then lights out at a pretty reasonable hour for especially up through our 6th graders. Our middle school students, it tends to be a little bit later, but not by much because they really are tired by the end of the day. All right, so that's kind of what camp in a snapshot looks like. So there is that. One of the things that I like to remind our parents of is we really want our kids to have a successful camp experience. And it's really up to you at home to help set that up for kids. When I went to camp, when I was in 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, I was that homesick kid. I spent my entire day in the nurse's office, homesick, and then I'd go back to my cabin group at night, and I didn't have any fun. And my parents were pretty much, nope, you're sticking it out. You've got to do this. And by 6th grade, it was better. And I still appreciate what they did for me by making me stick it out. But I did learn a few things from that experience. Really talk with them ahead of time as to what to do if your child starts feeling homesick, what they can do to lift up their spirits and to move beyond that homesickness. All right. Maybe talk to each other about what camp might be like and what they should expect as far as they know. Make sure that if they have any health concerns, food concerns, especially food allergies, or any other special needs, that you include that with all of the information that you share when you check your child in, your student in. Maybe bring extra documentation with you to camp. A lot of times I have one of my kids is on the spectrum, and so I would make sure I would talk with their counselors to say, you know what, we get bad weather. If there's bad weather, this is how he's going to react, just so that they could plan ahead. And there was a bad storm that year, and they were glad to have that information ahead of time. So just share as much as you can with your counselors. Pray for each other. Remind them that they're going to have fun. And to be honest, that most of our students do really well at camp. It's us parents that don't do so well because our schedule hasn't changed. We're the ones at home missing them. So we want you guys to do well and to hear about all the fun things that they're doing and to be able to have those conversations with them after. There will be a daily email regardless of whether I'm there or not, that will go out. So you will hear about things that the kids have been doing so that you can ask them questions. Because I don't know about you, but when I pick my kids up from camp, they get in the car and I'm like, so, share a little bit about camp. It was fun. Did you do anything? What did you do? Share some of your fun things. What was the funnest thing you did? Oh, we swam in the lake. Oh, that's great. I'm glad that was fun, but I want more. I want more from you. So that way then you can bring out some more information from your child too. So think through that. Remember that homesickness it's very natural and it's always very temporary. I've only sent home 2 students in all the years that I've been doing camp. One was because they were moving that next week. And the second one was because the parent sent them a note in their suitcase and said, I'll come and pick you up whenever you need to. So she called home and mom came and picked her up. So please don't do that. That doesn't set us up well at all. Camp is really well equipped to help our kids through being homesick. And that first day where it might be a little rocky, they do such a fantastic job of working with those kids and keeping them there at camp. Please do not give them permission to call you to come and get them. That's really important to set them up for a successful time while they are at camp. If your child starts feeling homesick, maybe they can write a postcard that they can send home. Are there postcards still in the Wapo Shopo? Yes, you can get a postcard from the Wapo Shopo. Maybe bring paper and an envelope there. If you're at Seeds Camp, maybe you can't send it home because you'll get home before it gets there, but you can always just write out a note to your mom and dad that you can give them when you get home. That might help you feel better. Again, don't promise an early pickup. Know that they have time-tested procedures to deal with homesickness. All right, and they have steps that they take that they do really well. And that's the last I'm going to speak about that. Healthcare and first aid. Healthcare staff and other staff that work in first aid are trained. They've received their first aid certification through the American Red Cross, either the emergency response or other equal certification. There is a nurse on staff. There will be screening, especially this year when you first arrive. Camp really is recommending that week prior to camp that you lay a little bit lower maybe. Limit yourself and your activities as much as possible so that you come healthy to camp. All right. There'll be, if you need to bring medication with you, the prescriptions and any medication that you bring is under lock and key at camp. Keep in mind that when we are at camp, there is usually there's like 320. So at 160, there'll probably be about 160 kids at youth camp that week. And there's probably 50 to 60 Seeds campers at camp that weekend, maybe a little bit more. If you have medications that you are bringing, please only bring enough for that time that they are at camp. So for instance, if your student takes allergy medicine once a day in the morning, and they're going to youth camp, please just pack 5 pills in the original bottle, put their name on the bottle. When they need to take that medicine and put everything else, leave all the extra pills at home in a Ziploc bag. All right. It is so much easier for camp, and then they don't have to count on all the extra pills. Please do not just bring a baggie with the pills in it, because then I must have spent one year a whole morning trying to figure out what pills were what for a family, because they mix them all together. So please don't do that. It's very confusing for the camp staff because they just don't know. If they so my Emma, who's not in the room right now, she sometimes needs allergy medicine in the morning, and she sometimes takes melatonin at night. So I just put on there as needed, so that they're not hunting her down. So she knows to go to the nurse at mealtime or at nighttime for nighttime meds. The counselors are really good about reminding who needs their meds, and they will come and find you if you haven't come to get them, because they know which meal you'll be at. All right, so far so good? Yes. They have that at camp. Yep, you don't need to send. The question was, what if they have like general medication like ibuprofen, Tylenol, that kind of thing? You do not need to pack that. They have that at camp. And when you registered your student for camp, you checked off what camp is able to give your child. So they have the anti-itch stuff. They have, what else? If you have an upset tummy, they have, Hannah. Okay. So what Hannah just said is if you do pack that, any Tylenol, that kind of medicine, anti-itch stuff, they have to take it away and it goes to first aid anyway. So you can just leave that at home. So it's really the prescription, the allergy meds, that type of thing that your student may need on a more regular basis. And again, if you have any questions about medicine, you can always email me about that. All right. Each day this year, there will be a daily health question for both campers, camp staff, and church staff to fill out. I don't know what that's going to look like yet, but that's going to be something that we have to do on a daily basis. For a camper pickup, this is really important. If you are, let's go back. If you're dropping off after check-in time, you'll go, I believe, to first aid where you'll check your camper in and then they'll bring you to your camp group. So just keep that in mind. And I would just ask that if you're going to be late that you call me so that I know. I'm kind of hoping that I can be there at check-in time because it's just a zoo. And then for both camps. And then the other piece is that if you need to pick up early, to please, there's a camp form that I will send out for an early camp release. Please make sure you fill that out, and then you will go to first aid, and they will get your student, your camper, for you to take home. All right. Once camp ends, you will need to sign your camper out. So that is for all age groups. Even Hallie will have to be signed out at the end of camp. That's just a safety precaution that we've been doing for a number of years. That I don't know yet. So in years past, the question was, how does drop-off work this year? In years past, we have and what I would say, maybe Emma knows because Emma read the COVID handbook that was turned out. Do you know the answer to the drop-off procedure? Oh, then why did you have your hand raised? Oh, okay. Why don't you share that question online? Thank you. Bring bug spray. Yep, that is one thing that you should bring. And I'm going to go over a camp checklist here in a little bit, and I will have a copy that I'll be sending out to families as we get more information. So yes, that's a good question. Camp, bug spray and sunscreen are important. Hannah has another question. I would imagine Yep. So what the question is about drop-off procedure. I imagine that it's going to, for those of you who have been to camp before, I imagine that it's going to be the same thing where you go up to Crossfire and go into the main room in Crossfire where you'll get your wristband that will be tied to your student account, where you will get, where you'll do your health screening, you'll turn in meds. If you haven't done any canteen money, you'll do canteen money at that time. And you'll get your room information. I would recommend that when you do the drop off, that if you do have meds, you bring only the meds with you. Leave everything else in your car. Right? Just that might be I think that's a lot easier than bringing your luggage in with you for your check-in. All right. If that changes, we're on a monthly call with camp. If there are any changes to the drop-off procedure, I'll be sure to communicate that with the families. All right, so there is that. All right, this year our Seeds camp is going to be a little different. We start on a Thursday at 3 p.m. is what I'm guessing. They haven't given us the exact time, but I'm assuming it's going to be 3 p.m. is when registration will start. Just a hint. usually open a little bit early, but you didn't hear that from me. All right. So again, they may open a little bit early for registration, but I didn't say that. So there's that piece. There is a closing service at Seeds Camp that will be Saturday at 12 noon. All right, so be aware of that. Oh, this is all assuming. I'm assuming they'll still do that because we can be outside. So there's that. Canteen will be open for Seeds Camp twice on Friday. So they'll be able to go to Canteen in the afternoon and then in the evening. And we'll talk a little bit more about Canteen in just a minute. So the Canteen will only be open for a specific time for Seeds Camp. Canteen will be more open. For Youth Camp, you'll be able to go twice a day. I'm just going to go with that. Youth Camp, again, that will open at 3 o'clock on Sunday. Again, they've been known to open earlier, so just so that you're aware of that. And that will probably be in Crossfire again. Closing worship is that Friday at 12 noon. And then following closing worship, they'll do, and they do the same thing for Seeds Camp. They'll do a prayer circle, and then parents will sign their kids out before they're allowed to leave. And again, Canteen is open twice a day. There's supposed to be a limit as to how much they can check out from Canteen, and you might want to just reinforce with them that you don't need to buy everything in Canteen at one time. Kind of spread it out over the week. I do have, I'm just starting to work on the checklist. So there are some updates for that, and I'm not going to be able to get this done until Jane comes back on Tuesday or Wednesday because she's got anyway, she does her magic with it. So, but I have some things. If you are a Seeds camper, a first through third grader, and the only Bible you have is a Spark Story Bible. So first and second graders, do not bring that. Your story may not be in there. It confuses the counselors. So you can leave your Bible at home. If you have an older sibling that has the the student Bible that looks like one of our adult Bibles, you can ask them if you could borrow their Bible. All right. But you do not need to bring the Spark Story Bible to camp. Leave that at home. All right. The other highlight is that that I want to hit on again is the sunblock, flashlight. You want to bring a swimsuit and towel. You're going to want to bring more than one pair of shoes. So Crocs, flip-flops, comfortable shoes that you're going to be able to walk in, Chacos, and you're going to want tennis shoes. You're going to need running shoes. So keep that in mind because you're going to need running shoes for field games. Please do not bring any electronics. Do not bring cell phones. Please do not bring any personal sports equipment, animals. Do not bring anything of value that you don't want lost or broken. You should not bring. Please bring masks. You will be, and I'm going to talk about this in just a second, you're going to need to wear a mask. Plan on 2 a day at least while you're at camp. And again, I'll come back to that in just a second. Any questions about what to bring or not to bring? And again, I'm going to send this all out so that you have a packing list. What I used to do with my kids is I'd make a copy of this list and I'd put it in their suitcase, or I'd send the list and put it in their suitcase so that when they're packing to go home, they can kind of see what they brought with them. I did it for Connor. Apparently, I loved Connor more than the girls. So, who knew? Who knew? Let's see here. I just want to make sure I've gotten everything. Okay. Clothing. Please bring clothes with you. Please change your clothes. It's really important to change your clothes, not just on the last day when your moms and dads are picking you up, but throughout the time that you're at camp. All right, it's really important. One of the things that I would do is I would set out, I'd have the kids pack or set out their clothes that they wanted to wear each day, and then we'd put it in a Ziploc bag so they could just grab the bag and then go to the bathroom to change. and then stick their old clothes into that bag and put it in their suitcase. That generally worked really well. All right. I was reminded by Hannah today to wear appropriate clothes. So think of things that you can wear to school and that are grandma approved. So I know that for girls especially, it's really hard because short shorts are in and small tops are in. Please try to wear longer tops, longer shorts. Kind of like what Hannah, you have to come onto camera. Hannah's modeling here for our friends at home. So kind of thing. You can wear tank tops. We used to have, for our families that have older siblings, we used to have you had to wear a one-piece swimsuit. That doesn't apply anymore. You can wear a two-piece. I do recommend if you have a swim shirt that you bring your swim shirt. Huge help in not getting sunburned when you're at the beach. So that's just my little piece of thing. We talked about leaving cell phones at home, especially our older friends who might have a cell phone. Please just leave it at home. Your counselor will take it away if they see it for the week. And back to masks, and this really applies to anything that you pack, label it. I just came across a jacket that Connor would bring to camp, and it still had his name and his phone number in his jacket from camp. So we labeled everything that Connor brought. Apparently, I didn't do the same thing with the girls, but we have a question from our Zoom chat. I'm going to get to that in just a second. The question was, are you sleeping with a mask on? And I'll get there in just a second. All right, so just label everything with the camper's name. And Hannah even said if you've got a common name like Emma Jones, that you put the name of the church that Emma Jones is with. So put King of Kings on there, just so that that will really help with lost and found. And believe it or not, but I've had pillows that I've had to go search for back at camp and other things, that sleeping bags, just odds and ends that get left at camp behind. So that would be huge in that. We're going to go back to the mask thing here. Masks are, again, plan on 2 per day. Somehow, if you can mark them, please do so, especially if they're a cloth mask. If you are just bringing disposable ones, I would still mark those too. So that's just me. I'd have a Ziploc bag with the clean masks, and I'd have a Ziploc bag for the dirty masks. So once they wear their mask and it's done, then they can put it in their dirty bag. Ziploc bag. That way then it's much easier, and even mark it dirty or clean, the 2 bags, just for them, because that's what we did on our last trip, and that was really very helpful. Masks are required for all indoor times except when you are in your sleeping space or your cabin. You do not have to wear your mask in your cabin, all right, and when you are sleeping. You also do not have to wear a mask when you are swimming. So be aware of that. Right now, camp is monitoring mask use outdoors. They are likely going to follow the Minnesota state guidelines because most of their churches are from Minnesota. They're also keeping in mind that while most of the counselors will be fully immunized with vaccinations, the kids will not be. So they want to keep our kids that are attending camp really safe. So they're going to err on caution when it comes to masks. And when I say masks, to be wearing your masks, and I know they're not the most comfortable thing in the world, and I think kids do a much better job than us adults with them, but they have to be covering your nose, covering your mouth down to your chin. They can't be, underneath your nose like that. And I know for us with glasses, that's a pain, but you can't do that. They have to cover your nose. You can't wear them like this. You can't wear them up here. I've got my mask on. No, that doesn't count. So the more that we can do to keep each other safe, the better our camp experience is going to be. All right. We might be able to remove your masks for some outdoor activities. Clearly, while you're eating your meal, you won't be wearing your mask. I get that. But there's some talk about field games. And when you're at a field game, you might be able to take your mask off as you're running around. But once you come to the sideline and for a water break or just to sit, you're going to have to put that mask back on. So just be aware of that. All right. Are there any questions about masks? Yes. in case they get wet or whatever, they're still recommending the 2 per day, even with a cloth mask. That's not a bad idea. So the question was, even if it's a cloth mask, do we need 2 per day? And that's what camp is recommending. And then a follow-up was a mask holder. And it's like, you think about, grandma and her glasses, and she'd have the eyeglass thing that would hold her glasses on. So when she takes her glasses off, that type of thing. I don't know where, I'm sure you can get those at like Walgreens and Amazon. I don't know what they'd be called, but you can look for that too. So I have seen people with them who are very fancy. I haven't had a need for that. But that's a great idea, is to get something to hold the mask so that you're not losing it in your pocket or whatever. All right. Canteen and Art Shop. When it comes to Canteen, even for seeds, they're really only at Canteen twice, but they do like to go to the shop. So here's the deal with Canteen. They are trying to limit it. Really talk to your kids about how much they should be able to purchase at Canteen and try to limit it, so they're not filling themselves up on all the icky stuff. And when it comes time to eat a good meal, they're not eating well. We really want kids to get good nutrition in them so that they sleep well, their tummies don't hurt, and that they're having fun at camp. And when they're loaded up on all that sugar and icky stuff, it's not as fun. So, my rule of thumb is 2 food items and then a drink is kind of what I recommend. So really talk with your kids about that, and maybe you can do a little bit more, a little bit less. But I've seen kids coming out with like handfuls of stuff. And I've got another question. So the question was, are buffs okay? I don't know that answer. So, and Noah wears a buff. I'm going to assume that, yes, it's okay, because Noah on our Zoom meetings, who is a camp employee, has been wearing a buff. But I will ask that at our next Zoom call, or I'll shoot. So about washing your mask, well, the only other thing too is if you bring a little bit of soap and wash it in the bathroom sink, and then have it dry out. Yes, camp will have disposable masks available also. So there is that. Okay. Back to Canteen. In terms of the only thing that you're going to need additional money for besides Canteen is shopping at the Wapo Shopo. There's there's 3 ways you can spend money: Canteen, the Wapo Shopo, and then specific arts and crafts for youth camp only. So we talked about Canteen and Wapo Shopo. They sell t-shirts, they sell sweatshirts, they sell water bottles. Emma is modeling a water bottle back there, but you're going to have to come up front now to show our friends online. They have flashlights. They have stuffed animals. A lot of times they have sunglasses. They have all kinds of things.
Also, if you forget like toothpaste or a toothbrush, like my mom did for me, they have that. You're welcome.
So Emma just said, and they also have toothbrush and toothpaste. So when the student forgets to pack their toothbrush and toothpaste, they can still brush their teeth during camp. All right. I do recommend the Wapo Shopo will be opened prior to camp and at the end of camp. And so students, I really suggest that you wait on buying any higher priced item until after camp, when your parents are with you. All right. If you want something little, like a little necklace or something, or a flashlight that you really want, or if you forgot a water bottle and you need a water bottle, pick that thing up. But in terms of shirts and sweatshirts, I would really suggest you wait so that you have your full amount of Canteen money. Usually I recommend about $30 per Canteen. Some people do more, some people do less. It's up to your family as to what you want to do. All right. And then again, art shop, this is only for youth camp. The only activities that need canteen money for the art and crafts are tie-dye and paracord bracelets, as far as I know at this point. All right, we're almost done, everybody. We're getting through our list really well. So as I mentioned before, I try to take pictures while I'm at camp, and I put them on a closed Shutterfly account so that you have access and can see your student, your camper, during their time at camp at least once or twice. We're still hoping to do that. And as we have a lot of our counselors from church on camp, I'm hoping that they may be able to add some pictures to that also when I'm not there. But there's also a blog that camp does that will have pictures that they will post. Keep in mind that the pictures that I post are on a closed site, so I will give you access based on your email address that you signed up with at camp. If there's an additional email address that you want to receive Shutterfly pictures for, please let me know ahead of time, because I can only do about 10, I think it's like 25 email addresses a day. And so it takes me a good week to a week and a half to get that all set up. So just be aware of that. So if there's additional email addresses, to let me know. All right, are there any questions about the Shutterfly or pictures? I do not post any pictures on, and nor will our counselors, on social media. I can't control what Wapo does, but I can control what I do. Yeah. Oh, I'll have to talk to them about what I just said then. Okay. We'll keep working on the picture thing, and we'll make sure we communicate that to families. But again, the hope is, since I will be fully immunized, that I can be there for Seeds Camp the whole time and quite a bit of youth camp. So that's the hope. All right. That is everything in a nutshell. I hope that that answers some questions. Allie, do you have anything else that we haven't covered? Emma. The question that was asked is if you can monitor the canteen money from a home and add as needed. It's kind of like what we do for lunch money. Hannah, do you know that answer? Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think they have that technology at this point. I think it's just that you have to do one large sum into there at the start, either prior to camp or when you do the check-in. Jackie. Yes, the question is about cameras, and can a camper bring a camera to camp with them? And they can. I tend to not recommend it for our Seeds campers, just because they're so busy that it gets left behind, and then we're trying to track it down, and they're so busy. But I leave that, again, that's up to the discretion of your family as to what you want to do. But yes, you can bring a camera. We find that most of our youth, not most, but a number of youth campers do bring cameras. They're the Polaroid type, you said, and the disposable camera. So yes, you can do a camera and take pictures. Just make sure you put your name on it. Emma. Okay, so pause right there. The question is, can you bring your own string to make a bracelet? Absolutely. One of my children brought all of her markers and paper. What else did you bring, Hannah? Her entire box. She just packed her room up, and it all went to camp. I don't know how she fit it in her suitcase, but she brought everything with her. Okay, so somebody from online said that they have added money to their campers canteen account during the week. They cannot monitor. So how do they find out? Okay, so they were able to add it during the week. I'm not sure how you monitor it, but I'm going to write that down. Here, canteen money during week. And I will get more information about that. Are there any other online questions? Are there any other in-person questions? It kind of depends. The most expensive, I think, are those ice cream sandwiches, which were like $3.25, something like that. And then they have the most popular things are those slushies. Okay, they're probably not that big, but they're tiny. Okay, we're gonna get smaller here, smaller. So anywhere between, maybe $1 to $5 per canteen time. So slushies are really popular, and then those cowtails. Cowtails are really popular. And keep in mind, anything that's chocolatey is going to melt. Oh, and then they have suckers too. So all kinds of things that you can get at Canteen. And you can get chips too. They do, one thing to be really, to know is that camp is peanut free. So please know that camp is peanut free. One thing that will be on your, and I'm going to send this out in the email too, is on the sheet that people got here. It talks for Seeds Camp. You do not need to bring a snack to Seeds Camp. You are fed really well, and there's enough snack time. So please leave snacks at home. A lot of times for Seeds Camp, the counselors will take it and store it for you and give it back to you at the before you leave. So there's that piece. For youth camp, if you want to bring a snack, you're welcome to bring a snack. I would just know that it has to be peanut free. If there is a peanut allergy in your cabin and it's manufactured in a place that manufactures peanuts, it will probably be taken away. So be aware of that. Even if it's peanut free, but maybe it's like a granola bar and it's been, or something like that. So just be aware of that. If you have, they do really well with the gluten-free allergies, and they do really well with all of the allergies. And they're really good at catching you. So like even a couple of times when I'd go through the line and I'd just be like, yeah, I'm just gonna skip it and I'm just not gonna eat the bread for my gluten allergy. They're like, nope, you can't have that. And they went and got my special food for me. So just know that they do take care of our kids and that they're aware of what they can and cannot have, especially the counselors, and our younger kids especially too. All right. Again, try not to pack everything that you have with you when you go to camp. Just bring what you need to camp. Hannah took a long time to pack her stuff back up at the end of camp every year. So we were always waiting for her to pack everything back up in her things. And it didn't always fit back into her suitcase. So just know, you don't need to bring everything under the sun with you. This is a time to just be with your friends, to have fun, to even relax a little bit, to try new things, meet new people, and just to be with God and to just be. All right. Are there any other questions? Oh, Jackie. So the question is if as siblings, if they're close in age, will they be together? The way camp operates, unless you selected them to be cabin buddies, It's the way they operate is that they first separate it out by gender, so boys and then girls, and then they separate it out by grade level and churches. So they will most likely not be together, and that's what I recommend. Okay, I got strong. Absolutely. The question was, can you bring a book to read? Absolutely bring a book to read and cards. If you like to play cards, I know the kids in the cabin groups play cards. I'm going to make sure that gets added onto my list here. And your second question? Right. Yes. Yep. And it's really only the paracord bracelets and tie-dyeing that costs money. All the other arts and crafts, they have beads, they have embroidery floss, they have all kinds of things, and that's free. There's no cost for that. And they usually have an art project of the day, and that's usually, and that's free except for the paracord or tie-dyeing. And if they want to do tie-dyeing, make sure you pack something that they can tie-dye, like a white pillowcase or a handkerchief or a bandana or a shirt. They have, and you can think through that too. They do have a white t-shirt that has a glow-in-the-dark cross on it for tie-dyeing that you can purchase, that you have been able to in the past purchase at the Wapo Shop. So, and that's just for week long. All right. Hey, Emma. They probably will. The question was, are parents allowed to go inside the cabin at drop off? And I would say probably not. So you'll be able to take your student to their cabin, but you won't be able to go inside the cabin. The counselor will be there. And again, there will only be 8 kids in a cabin for the hillside cabins. If they're in Crossfire, there will only be 4 kids in a cabin, in a room. There are bathrooms in the cabin and showers in the cabin. Some of our bigger rooms, like Big Lodge, will be half their normal capacity. So I think they could fit in there, what is it, like 25, 26 kids in there, Hannah? In Big Lodge? How many can you get in there, like 24, 25, 26? So there'll be no more than 13 in that. So there'll be plenty of space for you all. And the cabins, everything is air conditioned, so they sleep really well at night. So if it's a hot week, they do have air conditioning units. All right. If there is leftover money in canteen at the end of camp, and it's over $3, that will be put back onto the credit card on file, or a check will be mailed to you. If it is less than $3, that will automatically just be put into the campership scholarship fund. So just so that you're aware, and you will get, and this is important, students and campers, your parents will get an itemized detail of what you spent your money on. So I always enjoyed looking at that when my kids were campers, to see exactly what they bought at camp. And then the question was, why did you get that? You don't even like that. So there is that. Are there any other, you guys have asked really great questions. Are there any other questions? All right, let's close in prayer. Gracious God, thank you for our time together and for our chance to be in person and for a chance to be online. And Lord, we just pray that you bless our time this summer as we continue to grow in our faith and come to learn more and grow more in your love. Lord, we just pray that you bless our time together, that you help us to just meet new friends, try new things, and just have a great week at Sleepaway Camp. We lift camp up to you. We lift our counselors up to you, and we lift our campers to you and their families. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right. Goodbye, our Zoom families.